we need to bootstrap this panel, okay? So are there any volunteers or speakers that would like to come up and take one of these lovely green seats to bootstrap our panel? Nope. You guys asking questions of these guys, and we're going to try and, last year we tried to do it park bench style, so empty seat, you wanted to ask a question, you had to come up. Now, it doesn't quite work with this many people, so we're going to try and ad hoc it and see what happens. We're only doing it for like the next 10, 15 minutes, so hey, thank you. So we'll just see how it goes.
If we don't get volunteers, sorry, go. If we don't get volunteers, we'll start picking on people.
But it's an experiment, we'll try it out.
I'm joking. Hey.
But yeah, we don't need to fill all the seats. I mean, we've got like...
Okay, so in fact, it's actually good to have a spare seat here, I think. So the first person who'd like to ask a question from the floor, has anyone got an interesting question you'd like to ask? Think about the things we've seen today. Okay. Are you interested in joining here, or do you want to ask the people who are here?
Yeah, sure.
We need to swap. Oh, thanks, Chris. Please swap.
Yo.
Hi. Hi. So, I've heard a lot of great things about continuous delivery today. Wonder if you guys had any things you don't like.
Oh, I have to say it.
Go ahead.
Who wants to go first? Anything? No, I think is the answer to that. In short, hang on. No, not really. I think. I guess the only thing is there's quite a lot of investment up front to get continuous delivery working well, and this can be difficult to sell. I think sometimes to management structures and things, and that so. But I think the payback is so big that it's well worth that investment.
So we practice continuous delivery at HMRC Digital, and I love it and I hate it at the same time. The reason I hate it is that it means our product owner can say, we would like you to do this change, put this feature in, and can it be done tomorrow? Or can it be done this afternoon? Because, we can do that. And you have to explain to him that it actually does take time to design something properly and code it. And just because we release every day doesn't mean we can make instantaneous changes. It's a good problem to have, though.
For me, I think that the thing I like least about it is that for too many companies, at least that I encountered, when they think of continuous delivery, they only think about setting up the environment, making sure they can automatically deploy, and they forget about all the process that's part of that, the testing that's part of that, to make it actually successful, and they fail. Which is kind of the same thing that happened for the whole agile movement. So that's the thing that I dislike most.
I just want to follow up on that because I have seen it go wrong. Sorry, I have seen it go wrong, and I think if you just buy into the buzzwords, all you do is accelerate bad quality. Or it produces lots of heat and light, but absolutely no value, extra value for the business or the customer, and it typically stems from a lack of kind of situational awareness and a lack of your context. But you'll never go wrong if you stay true to reflecting on that and being agile in the true sense of the word.
I think it's important to remember that it's not a silver bullet, and there's no one solution to every problem. So even if you're trying to improve your business by using continuous delivery, there may be other areas that need more attention first. And it's important, as these guys were saying, not to forget about other best practices along the way.
So, in relation to like hashtag no staging and all the rest of it, do people think that, and with the Guardian and the others, like do people think it's possible to like essentially do away with staging and replace it with like consumer-driven contracts seems to be the exciting thing that has piqued my interest at least. Basically, to get to production, or will we always need that staging thing? And is it more about, because it's always been there, we kind of are just attached to it? Sorry, I'm on the chairs.
You want to take it?
I think as was pointed out in the Guardian presentation there, it's very much a horses for courses. I think that staging offers some really important value, particularly if you've got big database migrations and that kind of thing. So I think there's definitely a case of not one size fits all. And I was thinking particularly with the Guardian presentation there is that it's very well having a huge audience and you could do this kind of canary releasing. But if you've got a much smaller user group that's actually using your system, I think you don't have that luxury of doing canary releasing.
The approach we've gone for HMRC Digital is, so we have over 300 microservices in production, and we don't use versioning. But what we do ensure is that we have a shared environment, so shared development, QA, staging environments that they all run in. And by having them all running in these environments, it means people need to make sure that when they're making changes to their microservices, that they're not putting changes in that break other people's microservices. So I think it is important that you do have environments before production where you can see all of your microservices working together. Because if production is the very first time that you see live microservices talking to each other, then that can cause quite a lot of problems.
So I need to defend no staging. That's been my mindset for the last 4.5, 5 years. I have examples of where it can work, and it has worked in my context, but that's the only one I really know. Consumer-driven contracts are really interesting. I think a part of the puzzle, but ultimately I think having gates is something that you want to get rid of as much as you can. I think. To kind of summarise what I was saying earlier, the practices of continuous delivery are a necessity, and you can turn them into a virtue and dissolve out the staging in many, many cases. And I'd be interested in talking to both of you guys about actually how you use staging and whether there was an alternative after that.
Question for the gentleman at the end there, who's just put down the microphone. We have a large number, in the same order, about 200, 300 microservices. And I think one of our challenges at the moment is searching the APIs to understand what those services provide. So, kind of like we get a new microservice once every couple of weeks that's requested with random names like App Delta and layouts and workspaces and stuff like that. So it's very difficult to find the endpoints they provide and if there's duplicate endpoints. So do you have an approach that has been successful for you to kind of like document what's out there?
Yeah, there's a couple of things probably three things come to mind. So the first thing is that we have a service catalog in Confluence that describes all the microservices that we have and which teams own them. So that's like a library or reference point people can go to understand which teams own which microservices. We also have something called a platform readiness assessment or review, and that's done before a new microservice goes into production. So that's an opportunity for an independent team to have a look at how a new microservice has been built and tested and kind of the important different concerns, architectural concerns that have been implemented in that microservice. And then the third thing is that we have a single web ops team that does all of the deployments into production. So they're the team that would become aware of a new microservice that's coming in, and if they saw something that was a concern, then they'd flag it as appropriate.
Just as an aside, what would you do to a developer that called his class or package or project App Delta? I think you mentioned, because having microservices does not excuse you from using proper development practices, and naming is one of them.
We had a debate about it.
We
We had a lively debate about it. In this particular context, it was to provide a service that would be able to say all the commits and work items between two versions of an app. So it kind of made sense as App Delta. It wasn't part of our production systems. It had a specific purpose.
Okay.
Is anyone from Rackspace in here? Because I heard, as I understand it, they do something quite cool. Every repo has defined, on GitHub, has got I can't really call it, like app.json, which is a piece of text that defines who owns the repo, what it does. It's like a standard set of attributes. And then each service implements a static endpoint at the same path that will expose that. So it's kind of programmatically bound to, I mean, Confluence is great, but this is programmatically bound to the repository and the code.
Yeah, I'd just like to say what we're doing, or in the process of doing. So we have a service catalog as well, which is effectively a service that runs, and we kind of like we ping it when we need to deploy a new version. So it's one we've built ourselves, but it has all the username, the support teams, the mobiles, the BlackBerries, and all that. But we also have a new service that's just being built at the moment, which actually goes and finds every single Swagger endpoint in our system. So it talks to our infrastructure service to provide the endpoints, talks to our application service to provide all of the various applications, and goes and says, right, give me your Swagger endpoints. So at least we have an idea about, because services do evolve, so, you know, kind of like new endpoints and new APIs emerge, and you might get two endpoints in the same thing. So that's kind of one thing we're doing. Plus also adding load profiles, so each service should say what load it should support. That's kind of like, we haven't even started that yet, but that's our goal for this year. Thank you.
Is it on GitHub.com?
We are looking to open source it at some point in the future, but at the moment, the service discovery piece is bespoke.
I just want to add, I'm from Rightmove. We've been doing a lot to do with microservices and working out how they talk to each other, as well as how do we make sure that they continue to talk to each other consistently. So we've done a lot of work with packs and making sure they work with, we work with consumer-driven contracts. So each time a team wants to use another service or another provider or a consumer, they've got to make sure that they've spoken to the team first. They've got to make sure that they've basically created little JSON files that these then run in along our pipeline, to make sure that they still work against each other. And we've just added as well that they have to work against the rollback version, the live version, as well as the master version, so that we know what everyone's using. We know that if we have to roll back one of our services, all the other services still work fine, and all sorts of other bits and pieces. So that's kind of how we've dealt with how do we deal with other services, either they're changing or as well as people who are being added, and that's it. We are in the process of open sourcing it, hopefully, as well as writing more of it up and the rest of it. Disappear at this point.
Any more questions? Anything that anyone's got? Has anyone got a burning desire to share something that they haven't shared or haven't had a conversation with somebody about today? Okay, brilliant. I think I'd like to wrap it there. It's quite hot. I'm quite tired. My brain's exploding. I know that there's some other people who've had to skip out for similar reasons. So I think what we'll do is we'll wrap things now. First of all, so thank you to the panel, people who came to the front here. Thanks very much. Who is a speaker? Can you raise your hand if you're a speaker? What we have, I'm not sure how we're going to do this. They can come up at the end. If you can come up at the end, we've got some little card games called Release, and you'll have a lot of fun with that. So enjoy that one with your teams. What else do I need to say? I need to say thank you again to the venue, who have been brilliant. I need to say thank you to all of the people with red lanyards, so technical people and volunteers and people running things, passing microphones around, sorting out the registration tickets and so on. So kind of a big thank you for all those people, please. Is Jez still here? Is he gone? His head's exploded. Okay, that's fine. So a big thank you to Jez for our keynote today. That was really amazing. And to all the speakers and the people who proposed and led and were involved in open space sessions, that's a key part of making an event like this a real success. So however you've been involved in today, give yourselves a round of applause. And just a second while I make this thing work. We probably don't need it. The social event afterwards. So if you go out of this building, turn left. The pub is immediately in front of you across the road, and there'll be food from 6:30, which is a little way away. So there's still some time. We need to be out of here by 6 o'clock. There we go. Yeah, where are we now? Oops, it's there. Need to be out of here by 6 o'clock. So there's half an hour. There's half an hour now to have another cup of tea, coffee, conversations outside. And have a think about what you might talk about next year if you were to submit a talk proposal. Yes, thank you. Feedback forms. There's two different kinds of feedback forms. There's the feedback on the individual sessions, which are the orange ones. So please make sure you fill those in, or hopefully you've been doing that. Leave them on the seat, we'll collect them. There's also a feedback form for the entire day. Please fill that one in as well, because we want to continuously improve. It's not particularly continuous, because it's quite an effort to organise it, but we'll be back next year. So help us to improve for next year. Fill that in, and you can either leave those filled in on the seat, or you can hand them just put them on the ticket desk before you leave. That'd be great. Anything else? That's about it. Thank you very much, and see you next year.